Hey, good evening. Welcome. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, and we had a very busy one, which is the best kind of Christmas, I think. We neglected to, or not neglected, we decided that we would avoid and not do the gift thing, which is always an embarrassment to me. Especially if I was invited to someone else's house where they did the big gift thing, and they bought you a pair of socks or something. Now what do you do? Oh, thank you for the socks. Or a pair of gloves, you know, especially if you're in the Philippines or somewhere that's hot. Anyway, we had a great time because for the last week or so, if you've been following the videos, you'll have seen that we went to so many schools and barangays, communities, and we gave a lot of stuff away. We went out, we bought a load of, you wouldn't think it was very valuable, but it is highly valued here, and that's school supplies, books and erasers and little notebooks, and this, I don't know, just like this kind of thing, not even as grand as that, which would be very, very much appreciated. But anyway, we were invited to go to and spend most of the day at the Village of Hope, the orphanage, which you would you know, when I was a kid, we used to go hiking in the countryside, as we put it, because we lived in Manchester, but there was greenery that was within reach. And at one point I lived in a place called Woodhouse Park, which was a massive, sprawling council estate. There are actually new houses, and they were actually very nice, and it was a very nice area. And it was close to Manchester Airport, what is now Manchester Airport, but back then it was called Ringway Airport. And within a few minutes we could actually be in countryside, because they built this entire estate out in the middle of the country. And we lived there for a while, and it was a terrific place. While I lived more in the inner city, we used to go to a place that was called Style, and Style, if I remember rightly, it's a long time ago, okay, if I remember rightly, had an orphanage. And I always had a bad idea about an orphanage, probably because there was a place called Borstal, and Borstal was for troubled kids who'd got in trouble with the law, that is, not disturbed children. These were kids that were delinquent. We used to call them, there was a delinquent child that had got in trouble with the law, stealing and getting into all kinds of stuff. And they could spend time in Borstal as youngsters. They didn't put them into adult prisons, but they went to Borstal, and that was not, I don't think that was any joyful trip. It wasn't a holiday stay. And so I just generally had this idea that the orphanages were not happy places. Well, when it came to the Village of Hope, I couldn't be more wrong, because whenever we go there, it's just so obvious that there's so much love there. The place is so well run. It's not that they live in the lap of luxury. I'm not trying to say that. It's not one of those where everything is just perfect, because it's not. But the people that run it, I should explain that they have Houseparents, and and the orphanage consists of 4 different houses, and the houses are set apart, all within sight of each other, but the house parents live there, obviously, and they are the mother and father to those children in their house. And when you go there, if you just be quiet, watch and listen, you can observe that the children are actually happy, which when I first went was something of a revelation to me, because I didn't think that was what an orphanage was about. I mean, yes, it's true that some children have had a bad time, but there are all different kinds of circumstances. What I do know is that there are children who don't have to be there and who love it. I see, and they are, when we go, say we go at the weekend, or like Christmas Day, we went on Christmas Day, and there are children there who choose to visit there, and I just see how much they care about each other. Now, while I was there this time, we met Sydney, who is from, let me see, Iowa. She's from Iowa, a state in the US, and she decided when she got out of college, there is a video about Sydney and about her impressions of in the Philippines, about this step that she took. She took this step to go and to do mission work. She is there as an intern, and she helps. Whatever they want to do, whatever they ask her to do, you know, she's there to help, and she is fully immersed in that experience. And she was as amazed by how loving the children are, how loved they are, and how loving they are, as I am. And there's a very special quality about that place. So when we went up on Christmas Day, we took some sacks of rice, which is what we pledge. We pledge every month to take some rice. It's a great irony. You give to someone, and then you find out that they're giving to someone else. It just continues. And we found out that they'd sent a Goodwill Party out to, I think, 4 houses to make sure that they had food, and had found out that they didn't always have food. Imagine that, no food on Christmas Day. Pretty tough, isn't it? I should mention now, because we have our detractors, our bashers, we're not soliciting funds here, okay? We're just talking about human interest story, and it was very revealing that we're giving help to them, they're giving help to someone else, and that's the way that it goes. I was talking recently about how an act of kindness, it spreads. It's that old analogy of the pebble. When you were a kid, did you throw a pebble in the pond and you see it go plop, and then the rings are going out like this, concentric circles, little waves that go out, and they reach. They're hardly noticeable when they reach the edge of the pond, but they do reach the edge of the pond, and that's where they stop. And when you do an act of kindness, that's what happens. And I've explained what I feel. It's just my opinion, but I feel that when you do something good, there's the feeling that it gives you, which is a feel-good feeling. There's what it does for the person that you help, and then there's, if with social media now, we have a situation where we're witnessing things happen that are good. We're witnessing, I saw one video a man gave his shoes. He actually felt so bad. I mean, I don't suppose he was far from his car, but he took his boots off and he gave his boots to a homeless man. And lots of things happen from that. The thing is that someone else, I think it was, she won't mind if I mention her name, Pam. Pam confirmed what I thought about this when she said that she had discovered that there was research on the effect on the viewer, the onlooker. There was an effect that was similar, if not of the same magnitude. There was an effect on the watcher, the person who is looking on, and may have nothing to do with the good deed, but they feel almost as good as if they had done it. And I find that really interesting. So, in other words, when you're, unlike what people tell me, people say, the people who are fond of quoting the Bible say, no, in the Bible it says quite clearly that you're supposed to remain anonymous when you do a good deed. No, even Jesus told someone, show what I have done for you. I don't know where that is in the Bible, because I'm not great at quoting the Bible, but it was said to go forth and show, like for instance the man who was, I saw a little clip on the computer on YouTube, and it's talking about the life of Christ, and they've made a movie about it, and they're now portraying some of the famous stories. And of course the story of when the man was lowered down through the ceiling of the house where Jesus was talking, and they lowered this man down who was paralyzed and had been paralyzed from birth, and the person that had engineered lowering him down had seen a leper being cured by Christ, and in the movie, of course, they put it all together as they see it, and it makes a story, and they dramatize it. And the woman in this particular case says, Lord, if you have a mind, I know that you can cure this man. I saw you cure the leper, so I know that if you wish, you can cure him. And of course he did cure him, and that was one of the most famous lines, isn't it? Most people, there's a couple of lines, says that he who has not sinned, or let he who is without sin cast the first stone, which was how Christ stopped them stoning a woman to death. And then there's the other one, I don't know, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. There's that one, everybody remembers it. And the other one was, pick up thy bed and walk. And that's what he says to this man. And the man's faith is so great that he is cured. So that's the thing there. So I've come a long way from the the orphanage, haven't I? Which is sometimes the way. But there, they are passing on help in exactly the same way. They're not there in this little enclosed property of 4 houses in the way that I used to view the orphanage style. Probably somebody will remember, whether they knew that orphanage, that there was an orphanage in a place called Style, S-T-Y-A-L, and that was an area. Probably my friend Michael, who was born in the same town of Manchester as I was, and he's got a phenomenal memory for these things. So Michael, if you know about the orphanage at Style, let's know. But anyway, doing good is something that is both feel good for you, for the person that you help, and for whoever is watching that good deed done. It's infectious in the best possible way. So our day at the orphanage, which sounds like it would be one of tears, was one of laughter. Most heartwarming was the singing, and everybody sings, and in the religion that I've seen here, they sing and they dance, and it really does touch you. I mean, before I came to the Philippines, I'd given up on the idea of religion anyway, though I obviously believe in God. But as far as man-made, what I call organized religions, no, I wasn't strong on that. Then when I got here, and I met Beth, and we'd got married, and she took me to a church in Cebu, and I was surprised to find that I was really quite overwhelmed with emotion by the songs that they sang. They sing them, and they sing them from the heart, and it is very touching. It's stirring, and that was the first sign for me that I could accept this idea of very loosely organized religion. Okay, the Foursquare Gospel Church, it's just a tiny little church, tiny little building. There's nothing fancy about it, but it's still heartwarming, and I go there every Sunday. I can't sit through the entire 2 hour, I think it's something like 2 hours, 2 hour service in Visayan, because I don't yet speak Visayan, but I do go there, and I spend some of the time after I've got the kids and some of their mums and dads to church, and then I take off to Taliban for a little while, and then I usually come back maybe 11:30 or 20 to 12, and I sit in on the last maybe 15 or 20 minutes of the service, and it's stirring. Okay, well, our day at the orphanage, Christmas Day, and I put down here another little sentence underneath, and I said, "Love is all around." Remember that? That's 70s or 80s pop song, "Love is all around." Once again, Merry Christmas. We're looking forward to a great new year full of good things. Bye for now.